welcome to New York. We are in Broadway with our friend and very inspiring artist, Monsieur John Silvis. He is first photographer, then he is a curator, an advisor, and at last but not at least, he is a professor. Can you tell us exactly, John, where did you start everything? We can start by, he was born in Austria?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, tell us all about it.
So I was born in Vienna, Austria.
Mm-hmm. You can.
And most of my growing up years were spent going back and forth to the United States. So my parents are American and we lived in Vienna for about 20 years. Mm-hmm. And I came to the US to do college.
Okay.
And following 2 years back in my graduate program in Vienna, I moved to New York and I've been living in New York since 1994.
Okay. So now you are completely New Yorkese.
Exactly.
No, it's not true because you're international. You.
That's right. I do travel quite a bit.
Yes, quite a bit.
And I work with some collectors in Los Angeles, and so I find myself going back and forth quite a bit.
And in Europe and in the Middle East and a bit everywhere.
Yes, and in Asia, yeah.
Very low profile, John. Let us start from the very, very beginning. Where did you start? You told me that when you start, you did photography, and then you did a master, and then you went to work for a foundation. Can you tell about this DIA Foundation?
Yeah, so the DIA Art Foundation is one of the most important foundations in New York. It started out as a private collection and then became a really significant force in realizing large-scale and long-term art projects, which are really necessary to show art that dealt with the environment and minimalist art that required really large amounts of space.
Okay.
And so it was a very unique vision and was a foundation that I was fascinated with. And so coming to New York, I immediately wanted to connect with the DIA Foundation.
So that was the best back then as for you as to get into really the real life.
Yeah, absolutely. It connected me to the New York art scene. It really just taught me a lot about that era of art, which I didn't have in art school. Mm-hmm. It introduced me to incredible curators, people like Lynn Cook, who are really brilliant people.
Okay. And tell me, how come somebody who's in art would go and manage a place like a very well-known club, but then Lot 61st? Can you tell me how a club is, in the meantime, a gallery? I did not understand the small part, how that is possible, how that was possible.
So Lot 61 was positioned in Chelsea, right near the Art Foundation. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Chelsea was becoming the most important gallery neighborhood in New York.
Yeah,
and so a lot of art dealers, artists, celebrities were having dinners at the space. So it was a great way to kind of be part of that community in some way.
Okay, so they introduced art in this space.
Well, the owner was friends with several important art dealers, and she commissioned work for the bar restaurant.
Okay, so you started working there as what?
I was a host in the beginning, and then I ended up being one of the managers.
Okay, 3 managers, one of the
one
three
of
managers.
3 managers.
How long did it last?
I was there for about 1.5 years,
okay.
And during that time I started looking around to do something, again, more related to the art world, and that's when I discovered this position that was open in Citigroup, working with their art collection.
Yes, and there where you started even working with private persons, or you?
That came a bit later, but I think that's where I saw the idea of the need for people that spent all their time at the job, but then didn't have enough time to do research. And
So, you finished the art Citibank, and then you did tell us about something very important. I hope, I don't know, in the Middle East they do this, because as you know, I live in Lebanon. You did a program, special program art in university. Can you tell us exactly, and it's for 9 years, it was a long time.
Yeah.
What was it exactly? about?
So the program was, for me, was kind of a way to contribute to art education in a way that I thought was meaningful.
Okay.
Because I felt like there was always this huge gap between the academic world and then your business life, or what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
And in the art world, there's no like particular path to follow. So I feel like it's particularly important to understand what are my options once I'm done with school.
So what did you teach as a professor? What did you teach in the university? What the art program? What was it about?
Well, part of it was critiquing studio work.
Okay.
Another part of it was helping students find internships. They were all required to either work for a gallery or a museum or a designer, or even work in fashion if they wanted to. But the key point was getting experience and being able to,
So you
take what they're learning and actually apply it.
So you would take them and you would try to put them try to find them maybe.
Yeah,
places.
we had a database of about 100 contacts, and so over
Lucky
the
them.
years I built. Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have had that
Yeah,
opportunity
exactly.
when I was a student. And part of it is also being in New York. Here in New York, you see things happening in real time. You walk down the street, you see a movie. You can go up to Lincoln Center, see a fashion show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all. You have 40 museums in New York, so. There's no place that I've been to around the world where you can see it all happening
Concentration.
at once. Yeah.
But competition is pretty bad.
Sure, it's tough. Yeah.
It's really tough. Being the biggest town, the biggest city in the world with art. But I mean, how do you
Navigate that.
Yeah.
Well, you start and you work hard. You start at the bottom and you work hard. Yeah.
You work hard. Okay, maybe you have to have many works, because all the artists I know, I went to see 2 plays. They are artists, they are actors, but at the same time they are teachers, or they always do something else because you can't live of it.
Yeah, and throughout my time in New York, I was continually showing, both here in Europe and Asia. But yeah, a lot of artists can't solely live from their work.
No, unfortunately. So
although I have to say that it's getting easier, ironically.
Today?
Yeah.
How come?
I think there's more collectors.
Oh.
I think that artists, when they come out of art school now, are much more focused on, I need to make this or practice my art as a business. So I think there's a greater sense of having, the reality of being an entrepreneur. I think that's the...
Okay. So, yeah, it's more focused on what they want.
It's more focused on actually running a small business.
Okay. So basically, after the university, the art program you did, tell us about your gallery. You have a gallery in Brooklyn. Tell us all about it.
Yeah. So about 3.5 years ago, I founded a gallery with 2 partners, Julian and Jason. We call ourselves the 3 J's.
Hello.
And we initially had the vision of kind of showing artists in the neighborhood, because in Bushwick we're surrounded by hundreds of studios, both mid-career and more established artists, as well as kids out of art school. So there's a whole range of
So it's a big range.
the art community. Yeah.
And all different styles, or would?
Yeah, all different styles: painting, photography, installation, video art, performance, film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything. Really
Everything,
everything.
yeah.
Okay.
And so over the years, though, the program has developed, and lately I've been traveling more overseas, and so we started really thinking about expanding beyond Bushwick and becoming more of an international platform. So we've shown artists from Europe, from China, from South America, South Africa. So we've been kind of building our program to include a lot of different artists.
Okay, did you do something that, I don't know, because you did so many things in art. What is still you have to do? I think there is a gallery today. What is the next project? What's your motivation today when you wake up in the morning? John, what do you do? What do you feel like doing? Again, like a challenge.
A challenge?
Yeah.
For me, it's really, to continue exploring new ideas. For me, art is about ideas.
Okay.
And I still remember when, I started thinking about being an artist, I thought, well, you can be a designer, which is great. You make beautiful objects, and I like to wear nice things. But then there's the whole idea component. And so to me, seeing how artists are translating their reality in new ways and these new ideas is what I find exciting. I love working with collectors, helping them kind of build their own vision, because being a collector, you also start with an idea.
Yes.
The kind of collectors I work with are people that want to collect their whole life. They don't just buy it because it's hot right now. They buy it because it fits into their kind of longer vision of being a collector and being part of the cultural enterprise.
Okay. A small pause, and then we continue this very interesting conversation. Here we are again with John. Now is the other part of that I find more interesting, John. I'm gonna put my glasses, like a good student. I see nothing. John, you told us about your life, how it went on. You still have your gallery, and you travel a lot because you have all your different clients all over the world. Okay. Now I want to speak to John the human. Okay, we're gonna leave the John the professional. Okay, the artist and the photographer and. Tell me, during your childhood, what was the a peak point in your childhood where you knew that you are going to be a photographer, that you're going to work in art? Is it a teacher? Is it a book? Is it a person? Is it a photo that really inspired you when you were a kid?
I think that there wasn't a specific moment, except I remember being around a lot of creative people, and good friends of my parents were very well-known and successful art collectors in Austria.
Okay.
And so growing up with them, I got to see firsthand how those transactions take place, and their relationships with artists I found very interesting. So I remember going on a studio visit with them when I was about 14 or 15.
Okay.
And I think that, experiences like that had a very big impression on me, and I always liked the creative environment and the freedom that it presented.
Okay. Any of your parents were in the art business, or?
No one in my family.
No one. So it was really from outside.
From outside, yeah.
Okay. When you were a teen, you said 14, 15, but later, you knew when you were about to be 18, you were going to do photography?
Well, I knew I wanted to study art.
Yeah.
I loved photography, but yeah, my main interest at that time was being in art and somehow being part of this world that I was starting to understand and experience. And
okay.
So I think, as much as that, of being around it, I also just saw that there was good opportunity in that, yeah.
So, yeah. So it's all about outside, nothing that was really... So you wanted art, and you chose photography.
Yes.
You could have chosen what, for example?
Painting, sculpture,
okay, anything.
Any other medium, but to me I connected with that the most. I mean, my dad always photographed a lot when I was a kid. He gave me a camera.
When was the first camera you had?
When I was 12.
Okay, so pretty, yeah.
So, I was already kind of more inclined to photography.
To use the cameras.
Working with the cameras and, yeah.
Okay. Now, can you just tell me if today graffitis, installation, and fashion is art for you? Because today everything is art. You see the people doing a small scratch, this is art. Yeah. So what do you think about it? I wanted your opinion, because believe me, it's really important.
Sure. Well, I think for me the definition of art depends on the maker of the object. So I think that the intention of that artist is what's important. So, an artist who does a painting, he or she usually makes it for a museum, for an exhibition. It's meant to be appreciated and hopefully purchased. Someone who's working in fashion has other criteria that they need to set for themselves. They have to think about their market, they have to think about inventory, they have to think about materials.
Not very sexy, all that.
Yeah,
Mm.
so there's a different kind of, I would say, intention and objective by the creator themselves. That to me distinguishes whether it's more of a design object or whether it's a fine art object.
Okay. Can you define me, please, what beauty means for you in art or perfection? When curators say, this is beauty or this is perfection. Like, if I see what's behind we will put it in the video, I say, well, it's a carpet. And how do you define it? You, I mean, your eyes, your intuition, your...
Well, for me, when I'm looking at an object, you know, there's a few instinctual criteria in myself that are hard to define. You know, they're just there. They come
so
with
it
your
goes and tells you, John, this is it.
And interests. You know, in looking at specific works, I always try and think of how does this specific art piece fit into the lineage of contemporary art. You know, how does it connect to what's come before? How is it telling something about the future?
Okay, so it's not personal. So it's not something that it's not subjective. It's objective.
To some degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, to some degree. It's not just my whim or whether I like the color
Exactly.
or not. Yeah.
But you could eventually help somebody if you really believe in his work, and everybody says no, that you see something because you have the experience of what's...
Yeah, I mean, curators and advisors, they try and highlight things that maybe are new and haven't been seen before. So I mean, at some point, someone has to bring the artwork to public attention.
Yeah. And you're the one who could, you know, give him a push.
I'm one of those who can do that. Yeah.
Voilà. Bien. Working in art today, what would you give to today as a conseil, as a sometimes I forget my English. How do you say? To young people, to young students.
Aspiring artists.
Yes. What would you tell them? They go to university, they study art. What is what would you tell them?
I
Focus
would say
on what?
now with the internet,
yes.
It's very easy to research. So I would say do your homework. You know, find out what your peers are making.
Mm-hmm.
You know, find out what the galleries are showing. You know, read about why they're showing it. Mm-hmm. Because galleries are showing it for a reason. Again, it's not just because it's cool or hip. They're showing it because they think it's an important aspect of cultural history. You know, they're showing it with the idea that this is important work.
But what if I'm gonna do the devil here? What like Coco Chanel? When she starts, she was nothing like everybody else. But then again, she did her path. So somewhere, So if somebody has inspired by something and is doing it, and no one is, and so...
Well, the point is not to copy.
That's why you'd come to you. So you are the one who tell him, yeah, it could work.
Yes, I can encourage them or maybe inspire them or say you're on the right path. But they also have to know what's out there so they're not either making the same thing or figuring out like, well, you know, why is this important?
Okay.
You know, and be like, well, this is my idea, this is my story, but they also have to know what.
So if there is something the same, let them do their homework.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
However, you know, the other important thing is that you find a community.
What do you mean by finding the community?
Finding a community.
Finding a community, okay.
Yes. Of like-minded people. Without that, you're not going to survive very long. You know, this notion of the artist out in the woods who doesn't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work anymore.
No.
No, guys, if you are an artist, you have to consolidate and help yourself. This is it?
Absolutely.
Good. Another small thing. If I may ask you, what is the encounter in your life, a book that changed the way every one of us used to think something, and then at a certain point you change your way of thinking? Is it somebody? Is it a person? Is it a drawing? Is it a painting? Is it?
Well, it happened through my first art history class in high school.
Okay. Can you
with
tell us?
my teacher, Herb Holzinger, who I'm still friends with, still
Okay.
in touch with. And it wasn't anything revolutionary, except for me it sort of changed how I thought about art. And that is that we were talking about Van Gogh and some of the other French artists at the turn of the century.
Right.
And what he showed us was how all of these artists had very kind of clear ideas of, you know, what they wanted to achieve, how they were different, how they were unique. And I think for the first time I realized that, you know, the ideas that they were pursuing were also being echoed in music and science, in
At the same time,
psychology. That, you know, these artists weren't just existing in a vacuum, and it wasn't about style, and it wasn't about, oh, I don't want to paint, you know, realistically, or I don't want to paint conceptually, or whatever. You know, they had a very kind of strict idea of what they wanted to pursue.
Okay. Now, a question that I love to ask. If I had a magic wand, now, what would you ask me to do? One wish.
One wish.
One.
Well, I'd love a huge gallery space.
But you have
in
it already.
Soho.
Yeah.
No,
He is in
I'm
Brooklyn.
joking.
He wants it in Soho.
No,
No, come
no.
on.
Most of the galleries have left Soho. But yeah, no, I think, you know, I would love to be able to just keep showing artists and have bigger spaces. And
In all over the world, maybe?
sure, internationally, great.
Yeah. Okay. Before that, do you have like an advice to give to anyone who wants to one day paint or do? They say this is art. Can you tell me if this is art? Sorry, but I'm very old-fashioned. I'm very French, and for me, it's like. So tell me, how this is art?
Well, again, I think it has to do with the vision of the artist and what they, kind of the expectations they have placed on it. And so
our photographer, okay, you can tell us if this is, yeah.
So
can you, yeah.
This is a beautiful sculpture by Genesis Belanger.
Okay, I'm sorry, yes.
She's a young Brooklyn artist who I've been working with and following for about 5 years.
Okay. What did she mean by that? Because every installation or every has a meaning. What did she meant by that? I mean.
So sometimes the way I look at artists is more in the sense of their oeuvre, you know, not necessarily one specific thing.
D'accord.
So how this fits into her work is that she's very interested in kind of how we as contemporary people think about modernism. Okay, so she's very interested in the notion of the modern experiment, which, you know, many philosophers, artists have talked about as being a failure. I mean,
yes.
You know, we tried. It was all very ambitious, and so this is a like a tower.
D'accord.
Okay.
It's a tower.
And you know, the Russian constructivists, the French, right, turn of the century, they all had these versions of towers, or, you know, the story of the Tower of Babel.
Oui, le Babel.
Exactly.
We know, we don't live very far, yes?
Exactly,
okay.
So you're close to it. So, so the idea with this is to make some kind of totem or tower or monument, in a way, to contemporary modern culture.
D'accord.
And so the way that this is a kind of a failure is that all of the main objects in here are trash.
Okay.
So this is a cup from McDonald's, empty milk carton, this is some kind of candy box.
Yes.
And she's memorialized them on these billboards.
D'accord. Okay. So you see, sorry, but I'm completely not at all a critic artist. I could never be, but I'm learning. One last thing you want to say to the world? To the Middle East, especially, for people who look at you?
Middle East has a wonderfully rich culture.
Yes.
And I hope that you, wherever you are, and inspiring your young children and friends to make art.
Well, you have to come to us.
I will someday. Yeah.
No, very soon, I hope. Bon, thank you a lot to be with us, and I'm very happy to be here in New York, and I'm gonna go on and continue my my interviews and my very nice weather. I have to admit, we are in the end of October and it's beautiful,
Yeah.
really. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup,
Merci
Jeanne.
beaucoup.
À vous, à bientôt. How do you say merci
back
in
soon.
German?
Danke.
Danke. Dankeschön. I
Dankeschön.
love bitteschön. Bye.